Hey everybody, welcome back to Never in Reverse podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Axel. Today we have a very special guest from the East Coast.
We have a saying here, ready, aim, fire. No, it's not that. It's ready, fire, aim. We launch and then we figure it out. And sometimes it's messy. Business is messy. Growing is expensive. Scaling is really where it is. I always think very simply in business and in patient care. What's the problem? Why is it happening? And then what can we do about it? But in business, we have to analyze that and say, what's the pathophysiology behind why it's not working? What's the decision making that we did? What are the challenges that we're facing? Then how do we fix this and pivot?
They have a very compelling and interesting story. The walk is something that I've never really seen before, but you sold your business, came back and got it back for free?
Yeah, that's a great story.
Like, that's crazy.
We had this group that came into us. It was an equity group, promised us the world. I was naive to that business. We ended up selling the company. It was the worst move I ever made in my life.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Never in Reverse podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Axel. Today we have a couple very special guests coming from the East Coast. They have a very compelling and interesting story. The walk is something that I've never really seen before, but I'm really excited to invite them onto the show. And welcome to the show, you two. If you guys wouldn't mind, go ahead and introducing yourselves. That would be lovely to the audience.
Sure. I'm Brad Newbury.
I'm Kiera Newbury.
Let's give a little background history. I think it's important to give just a baseline of you guys, who you are, what you like to do, any hobbies, anything like that. That'd be great.
By trade, I'm a career fire officer and paramedic. I've been in the fire service now for 40 years. I started as a young volunteer at 16 years old, and I continue to serve as a fire officer. I'm a captain paramedic now and work for a department just south of Boston. In 2010, I opened our own paramedic school, EMT and paramedic school here in Massachusetts called National Medical Education and Training Center. We train EMTs and paramedics from all over the country and around the world. In 2007, I launched the first online hybrid paramedic program in the country. And if you think about that, 2007, no one was doing hybrid education for EMS. They were in other areas, and they definitely had it for nursing and degree programs, but not for EMS. And so I did a pilot study here in our state for 2007, 2008. 2009, we actually opened it up to students from around the country and around the world. So we had our first international online paramedic program in 2009. And, interesting journey from a business perspective that I was teaching for another school and the guy didn't pay my contract. So I decided that, hey, I couldn't leave my program there that I had developed and worked so hard to put together. So I opened our own school and this has been an incredible journey.
And to your left, you have your daughter.
Yes, my daughter, who I recently wrote a book with.
No way.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I hope she brought everything up, all the closet. Let's do it. Bring it all out.
I'm kind of want to start out. I'm 23, and I just graduated college last year, but my journey really started when I was 2, and I began going to EMT and paramedic courses and watching my dad teach. And then both my parents had opened the school, and I was constantly around it. And at 8 years old, I had gone to both my parents, and I had said, well, I want to become an EMT. And I'm the youngest of 3. And there's not 8 years between my brother and I, and 5 years between my sister and I. And I had seen them try and find their path and their role in medicine and in the school. And I had gone to my parents and said, I want to be an EMT at 8 years old. And they had looked at me and they said, Kiera, unfortunately, Massachusetts isn't going to license an 8-year-old EMT. And I kind of didn't believe them a little bit. So I went online on our family computer and I had to look it up, and I Googled whether or not this was true. And turns out they were right. And I just knew that I needed to do something and I wanted to be involved in one way or another. And I had been working with all the students and trying to learn the skills that they were learning. And I had been intubating mannequins and starting IVs on different IV arms. And I wanted to do something. I didn't want to just be the person who stood back. And so I had found online that there's no minimum age requirement to become CPR certified. So at 8 years old, I went to my parents and I said, well, if I can't become an EMT, then this is something that I want to do. And they set me up on the computer. They paid for the course. And I sat there and I took so many notes. And I remember I was so proud of it because I finally could do something that actually meant something to other people. So when it came time to demonstrate my skills, my dad and I went into the school, and we had the CPR mannequins, and I was demonstrating them, and I looked over and I had seen that he had his phone out and he was recording and taking pictures. And at the time, I kind of brushed it off. I was an athlete, and he was always taking pictures of me, always proud of me. So I just kind of thought, okay, this is another proud dad moment. And come to find out years later that he was actually doing it really for proof that I did have these skills.
Oh, who's gonna believe me that my 8-year-old is actually certified? So I had to prove it.
Yeah, which I get it now. But so I had gotten CPR certified, and it was something that I was so proud of. I went to school, I told everybody, and 10 years later, when I turned 18, I had gone through the EMT course, and I became licensed in Massachusetts and nationally too. And I had gone to college, but once I was in college, I knew that I wanted to put these skills to use. I had been working so hard since I was 8 years old to be able to do these things, and I wanted to actually go out into the workforce and help others. So it's a really interesting story in the book of how I got this job, but I began working at one of the top emergency rooms in the country at a level 1 trauma center, and I got to put my skills to use, and I got so much education and experience, and I learned more in the 3 years that I had worked in the emergency room there than I did in the 16 years I had been sitting in all of these classrooms, learning from textbooks and PowerPoints. So,
wow, that's awesome. Well, thank you for that. Do you guys got any key hobbies or anything that are really dynamic? What do you guys enjoy doing? Is
Work? Isn't that what you do, Jeremy?
I know that. Yeah. Oh, trust me. That's my middle name. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
we both really love reading. That's one thing that
Reading.
we can.
We play golf.
Yes, we play
Yep.
golf, and we travel a lot.
Yes, a lot.
Hey,
And,
sign me up for that.
Yes.
Let's dive into the session. So the skills that no one knew that you had, what do first responders carry out of the field that most entrepreneurs spend years to learn? Because I think that's going to be, I could see in the middle of that war that you're in, is so much dynamic information that is applicable to being an entrepreneur. So what do you think that looks like?
So I think there's so many traits and characteristics that first responders have that give them an advantage. And those are learned traits, and I should say learned skills, because the first book I wrote, it's called The First Responders Advantage. And I saw that we do have this incredible advantage, the way that we see the world, the way that we're raised as providers, the way that we make decisions. You think about, my role now is as an incident commander. So I'm in a command vehicle. I go to a fire. I stand in front of a fire building, and I'm in charge of sending people into harm's way. I have to make high-level cognitive decisions in extremis with when time is of the essence. And if you think about from a business perspective, every single day you have some crisis hit you, right, Jeremy? Like there's something where you get this email from a customer, somebody's complaining, it's a lawsuit, whatever it is. You have to solve these problems. And to me, standing in front of a fire building, or actually, I spent 14 years as an engine officer crawling into fires. And so when you think about some of the things that we do on a daily basis and the way that we make decisions, I started to see the similarities in the way that I made decisions in business and how it gave me a real advantage sometimes over, other entrepreneurs. Because one, I was working 24-hour shifts. I mean, I still continue to work 24-hour shifts. I work I'm going to the firehouse tomorrow for 24 hours. And then I'll get off and I'll grind, whether I used to come into our business and grind through the day. So that perseverance, that dedication, but also too, we're mission driven in so many ways and built to serve. And I think from a customer service standpoint, we serve every single day, whether it be our internal customers of our workforce or our external customers or people that are purchasing from us. And particularly in our business where, every single email I send, at the bottom of my signature, it says, NMETC exists so that future lives may be saved. And truly, we're training EMTs and paramedics to go out into the world and do amazing things. And we hear story after story of our students who are incredibly successful out in the field and how they saved a life. And we can touch more lives through our students, through the education that we deliver here at our school, than we could ever do just me going to calls. And I've been to thousands and thousands of calls, right? I mean, I've been a paramedic for 36 years now. And,
wow.
And so I think from an EMS standpoint, I learned how to care for people. I was 20 years old when I became a paramedic. My favorite line is, I could give drugs, but I couldn't drink alcohol. And I was struggling to be a young man back then, and
Yeah.
let alone learn to be a caregiver. And when I thought about, for business, I think about business, we have to have empathy every single day in our business, whether it be with our team or whether it be with the folks that we serve. And truly every day that I go to the firehouse, I'm serving other people. And people here in our business and in your business, they might not be calling you because they're having the worst day of their life. Like sometimes they're calling us in the fire department, but they're not calling us every day because they're having the worst day either. They just have a problem, right? It might be Mrs. Smith who, we get all kinds of calls. Mrs. Smith calls because her boiler doesn't work and it's freezing cold in the middle of the winter. And she calls 911 because she knows that, if she calls us, we're at least going to come and try to help solve her problem. And believe me, there are a lot of times I have folks in my department, we might go in there, we might fix their boiler. I'm not telling people to go call 911 so we fix their boiler. But what I'm saying is that
Do it.
yeah, we care for people in so many different ways. And I think that's what business is all about, right?
Yeah.
We solve problems in business. If not, you wouldn't exist. If people didn't have a problem for you to solve, you wouldn't exist. I mean, I love that Dave Ramsey, when we solve somebody's problems, they'll pay you in certificates of appreciation, right? Like $100 bills. So there's going to be a monetization to helping people solve problems. And I'll tell you, the biggest challenge I had as an entrepreneur was getting over making money. Because in the fire department, we're built to serve. We don't make a lot of money. And one of the communities that we serve here at our school is the Jewish community. We have a large Jewish population of students that come here. They serve on a volunteer ambulance service called Hatzola. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they are the largest volunteer ambulance system in the world.
Wow.
And they're if you're in a large Jewish community, say you're in Lakewood, New Jersey, you're in anywhere in New York City, all the boroughs. If you're Jewish or you're Orthodox or Hasidic, you don't call 911, you call Hatzola. Incredible group of individuals who are serving every single day. But it was one of our students who gave me a book called Thou Shalt Prosper by Rabbi Lapin. And in that book, he talks about, if you're doing good things in the world, it's okay to make money. And that really helped me get over that as an entrepreneur, is that it's okay to make money as long as that we're doing great things. And it doesn't matter what your business is, because you're serving people every single day in some way, right? So people who serve in some way, whether it be in your business or our business or anybody else's business, we as the CEOs of these companies, we have to make sure that we're serving those people. And my goal every single day that I come to work is to serve the people that are serving our customers and serving our internal workforce.
Yeah, I agree. Pray drive it. What is it and why does it win?
Coach Michael Burke, I think, Bert, he was the one who he actually trademarked Pray Drive. I don't know if you know him, but
I do not.
he wrote a book on Pray Drive, and he actually unpacks Pray Drive as something that from a dog standpoint, right? Like he really thinks about it from both a hunting and going out and killing something and bringing it back and let everybody else feed on it. And so when you think about Pray Drive, I think about, if I go out and serve in a bunch of meaningful way, and I think it's the same thing, right? As a CEO, my job is to go out, find business, kill it, bring it back. Everybody else gets to feed off of it, right? That's what Pray Drive is, in my opinion. If you're the pack leader, whether it be the wolf or whatever, your role is to take care of the flock. And what internal Pray Drive do you have? And I think many people, I've never, in our business, this is interesting, people don't even believe me. First and foremost, we don't even advertise. And I mean zero.
Wow.
And we have a multi-million-dollar company with students from all over the country and around the world, and we don't advertise. We have a Facebook page that one of our team members a couple of years ago had convinced me that we should, we had a branding problem because we had a couple of different, so Dan Limmer said to me, Brad, you got a brand confusion. We need to fix it. So we fixed it. We have one super nice lady. She comes in like once or twice a month, take pictures of our students and post them on social media. That's it. But we don't advertise. It's all, our business has been word of mouth and grown over the years. And so we never have discussions in our school, particularly at the highest level of our, I have a chief operating officer, chief academic officer, chief clinical and business development officer. So our core C-suite individuals, we've never had conversations around money. And sometimes I think I'm a bad business guy, but I don't believe so. Because first thing we ask, so during COVID, we grew exponentially. Having a hybrid EMT and paramedic program, I like to say that we were well positioned for a pandemic.
Yeah.
But the reality is we already had the process nailed. And I think, honestly, both on the public education side, the college education side, those schools failed miserably. Terrible. I mean, and listen, I'm a union person, but the teachers union was, there was some challenges there too, because there's real limitations within collective bargaining agreements and things that got in the way of doing great things. And I think when, we go back and I look back and reflect on what happened over those couple of years in our organization, we were being, in a sense, pushed to grow. And that continues here every day. I just had a conversation yesterday with our COO, and she said, listen, we are full for the rest of the year. I mean, completely full, overfull. And people are begging us to, take in students. I had a call yesterday with a chief who he got a grant for 7 students. I can't fit them. We are, we are literally like waiting lists. So he's going to have to wait till next year. And we have a 24,000 square foot facility here in West Bridgewater, Massachusetts. And but we're at capacity, so we have to figure out a different way. And when I think about growing, when you try to growing is expensive. Scaling is really where it is, right? And especially now with AI, is we actually put an AI program together to see where we could scale without having to grow, meaning grow with people. And we sat down and said, first and foremost, no one's going to lose their job, but how do we become way more efficient? Because we just can't, we can't find people. And that's a problem too. Like we'll have an advertisement out there for a staff person, to work in the office, and we're struggling to get that one person or 2 people or 3 people. And now all of a sudden, we need 5 and we can't get them. So that becomes a barrier to our business, and we have to be innovative and think about other ways to scale.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit. I want to rewind the tape. So you sold your business, came back and got it back for free.
Yeah, that's a great story.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but this is a story of private equity, right? And so in 2010, we opened the business. We grew rapidly. And as an entrepreneur, like you and I were having a conversation, I was the CEO, which really just meant chief everything officer. I wasn't functioning as a CEO. I was functioning as doing everything else in the business. I might have gave myself some BS title that I wasn't actually doing like I do now. But the reality was that, I was struggling. I was, I'm a firefighter, and I didn't have a business degree. I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. And I had to, like I say here in Massachusetts, like we have a great phrase that I had to get wicked smart as quickly as possible from an entrepreneurial standpoint.
Yeah.
And so I went out and got business coaching, read books, did all the things I could to prepare myself, because I also knew too, I've read a lot of John Maxwell's stuff, and I knew, his law of the lid, right? The 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And the law of the lid was I was the lid of the organization. The organization couldn't go beyond me, so I had to go out and get as smart as I could. And then through that journey, though, we had this, as we continued to grow, I mean, I had single moms that were working for us. We didn't have health insurance at the time. We were expanding and growing, but I also needed capital. And one of the interesting things that we can get into too is, we have this really large facility. I've never taken debt to our business ever. So we have grown and with retained earnings. So if you ever came to our facility, you walk around, every single thing that is here has been bought with cash. And
in the same way, that's awesome, man. Good for you.
Yeah, there is good reason for debt in certain times, but we just haven't had that. And so going back to the story, in 2014, we were expanding, and then we had this group that came into us who they were out of Colorado, by the way. And
Uh-oh.
they were interested in our business. They held it was an equity group, and within their equity holdings, they had several different tranches that they were in, and one of them was a private college. So basically, this private college, and the way the equity companies do it, they isolate each one of those silos, right? So they had this college, and at the time, if you go back into 2014, 2015, it was kind of a free-for-all in those private colleges. There was a ton of federal financial aid money that was out there.
Mhm.
They were leveraging all of that, and they work on a 30-day profit and loss. So they literally suck the capital out every 30 days. And so you had to keep making your P&S your P&L every.
Oh, you're trying to private equity does. They're basically they're gonna suck everything out. I get it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly what they were doing. So, but they came to us, promised us the world. I was naive to that business, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know the private for-profit college business and the way that they operated, and so in an all-stock sale, we ended up selling the company to this private college. Now it was a big win for us in a sense as a family, but it was the worst move I ever made in my life. I say that, but it was so terrible because I had a contract to stay in place as the campus president for 2 years, and all they did was tell us to go work harder. They added a whole bunch of more students, and for 2 years they didn't buy one piece of equipment.
Yep.
Not one. They didn't invest in the business at all.
And they basically said, do more with the same you got. I mean, I have a couple of buddies that are going through this right now, and I think they're going, what? The front end, and I don't know if you're experienced, maybe you can share this just so people don't make this, maybe they do more due diligence, right? They get you that check or the silver object, so to speak, but they'll tell you they're going to keep, everyone's going to be intact. We're not going to change much. We're just going to come in and enhance it. That's their pitch, right? And then, they're going to do that. And then month 13, then it's thumb, right? They got the understanding of the business, and then they're probably going to start pushing strictly to squeeze every ounce of profit out of that thing, and ask for more. And that's what I hear you saying.
And they were failing miserably. They failed miserably in the rest of their business. They had the wrong leadership team. Those folks were they weren't doing well. They were behind in their revenue, and so it got really ugly. It's a very long story that we don't have time in the podcast here, but basically at the end of the day, I had made an earnout bonus that they didn't pay.
Oh boy.
And we leveraged them and forced them to give it back, and they gave it back. Yeah.
That's kind of a win.
It was a huge win that they gave it back. And they knew it. They knew they were failing. I mean, they were trying to sell off. They were trying to sell off all the schools, and I think there were 12 or 14 campuses, and they were trying to sell them all off. And then eventually, so we took the company back in February 1st, 2016, and the federal government went in and basically stopped their federal financial aid ability in April, and the company went bankrupt after that.
So round two, let's think about that. So you get in, you're successful, you sell it pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
That period of time, I got to assume that private equity, that probably felt painful at the time, but just looking back, going from like a first responder to a CEO, it's when you're starting off, you're winging it, right? You're just trying to figure it out, and you don't really know much about business. You just know you didn't make money and all the things that we go through. So then you go through that transition. Now first responder to CEO, I got to believe that's when you really started to put your CEO hat back on and actually really understand what that meant, because going through that private equity probably gave a good and bad perspective of what it looks like to run an organization. So you probably had a lot more skills, I would say, that round two, right? So when you came in, did you feel like, hey, you had a different heart posture or something that you could bring to the table that could actually lead to the next layer of where you wanted to go?
I will say definitely in those 2 years, I learned so much, right? I learned so much about how not to run a business. And I learned a lot of things and you think about this, twice now I have been, in a sense, screwed over. The first, so I had a not a partnership in the business the first time, but I had a partnership in the program, and the guy didn't pay my contract, and
Yep.
we parted ways. Second time, same thing. I didn't have a partnership, but we made an earn out bonus. They didn't pay us, and then I was able to take the company back. Within that, though, I learned so much, and we learned a lot more about the accrediting process that we had to go through. I learned so much about, how they were running their business and how negative that really was, and how it hurt not only our employees, but it hurt our business. And so, when I took it back, actually, you'll love this, because I gathered all of our employees and brought them in to a meeting. I put one slide up, and the first slide was a gaping wound that was bleeding. And I said, listen, this is what's going on right now. We're bleeding. And the next slide was that it was a stitched up wound. It was that same wound that was stitched up. I said, we've taken the company back. We've closed the wound. That's going to stop right now. Then the third slide was a scar. And I said to everybody, I said, listen, there's going to be a scar here in our organization. We're never going to forget what happened. And we're never going to allow what happened before ever happen again. And so when we came back in and took back ownership, my wife and I made this commitment that, first and foremost, they didn't care about people. They didn't care about patient care. They didn't care about people. They didn't care about education. They only cared about money.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the complete opposite, right? I never, I started having we started talking earlier about money. I've never had that conversation with any of our team members, including our C-suite folks, right? And here's why. I never had said to them, it's never been a sales process, never went in and said, hey, listen, we need to have 25 students here. We need to make, this amount of money. And some people would say, you're crazy that you don't actually set those sales goals, but we don't. And here's why. Because I believe that if you're doing great things and you have solid core values of the organization,
Yep.
they are going to drive everything that we do every single day.
Yep.
And we don't have to talk about money, because what we do is when we make a decision, and I say me, and ultimately, of course, it's me. But when we're sitting down and we're thinking about having that conversation yesterday with my COO, and she's saying, oh, we should add another class. And it's not driven by finances. It's driven by mission. So
Yeah.
the first thing we do is we'll sit down and we'll say, who do we serve? And is it the right thing for the people that we serve to do this? And then I ask the question, is it right for our organization? Meaning where we are in our growth point right now, can we handle that? Can we scale? And can we do it great? Because if we can't do it great, and by the way, we have in our paramedic program, we have about a 95% first-time pass rate on the National Registry, which is our certification exam. And we are nationally accredited paramedic program. The national average for first-time pass rate is about 70%.
Wow.
So we're crushing it. And why? Because patient care matters. And the reason I say that is that our students are going out taking care of real people. Behind every single one of those students, behind the education that we deliver, is a life. And that's really around our book is that we're going to talk about. And so the mission is the main focus. It's like Peter Blaver's book, Mission, Men, and Me, right? Is like, first it's the mission, then it's our organization, and then it's me. I'm the last one there in that scenario. So I have an easy litmus test, and I bet your listeners will love this when it comes to making decisions. Is it right for the people we serve? Is it right for our organization? And would my mother be proud of me if she read it in the newspaper tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's it. Very simple. And then the rest of our core values align with all of that. And then, we make a decision, okay, should we do this? Why are we doing it? Is it just to make more money? And if that's the reason, we probably shouldn't be doing it.
Great. And I want to step in for a minute because this resonates with me. I had a sales guy start about 3-4 years ago, and he got into a situation where a customer had made the wrong decision. The customer made the wrong decision, which is a smaller financial issue, but it was nothing that was ouch. It hurt, but it was, and he was contemplating what that looked like. And I have a saying, and I created this at a time in a deal that I was on. I had to humble this gentleman because he just kept pushing for profit. And I said, man, have you ever put people before profit? And he goes, I've never heard of that. I said, let's sit on that for 24 hours and let's talk tomorrow. I want you to think about what I said. And I want you to take that to your boss. And he goes, and he kind of got frustrated. And I said, so I use that when it's necessary. You got to be smart, but I said,
Sure.
if you put people before profit, your profit is going to be exponential because you have the people. If you step on those people in down times, you get it once.
Mhm.
And guess what happened? That gentleman keeps coming back, and he's now a long-term customer. He feels like he's got the right team. It wasn't our problem. I felt like, hey, there's times that we have to step in with them, and it might not be to our benefit, and that's all right. So I can see what you're saying. It's like, man, at what expense? Private equity is at the expense of all people, and the people are the one that are getting to the profit. So basically, they're saying that profit doesn't matter. They don't realize they're saying that, but that's what they're saying, because the people don't matter and they generate the profits. But I want the profit, but the people don't matter and they generate. So it's like it's this. I can the conflict of interest inside of their requirements. I could just see that'd be a stretch, especially as someone like yourself that's leading from a place of, hey, we'll look at profit as we do the right thing, right? Like, let's just do
And
that.
don't get me wrong. I mean, we all have to have profit, right? We
Yes.
have to have profit because we have to keep the lights on. We have to, pay
Yeah.
our employee benefits. I mean, we have, I don't know, we have a great 401k program. We have, medical insurance for our company, for our employees. Like we're a good company to work for, and we take care of those folks. And to me, they're the ones taking care of our customers. They're the ones taking care of our students and our business. But we all have to make money, because if not, we'll shut the doors. And you
100%.
can't grow, you can't do great things without making money. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying either. Is that making money is important, but it's not the driving factor here in at least the way that I think. And I think that's one of those advantages as a first responder, because we go out to serve people. Never do we have a discussion of, sometimes people are like, I can't afford the ambulance ride. Like, it's okay, ma'am. Don't worry about the ambulance ride. We're gonna take you to the hospital no matter what, whether you can pay or not, and
Yep.
we'll work out those other details. But we don't show up and somebody's on their front lawn and their house is burning, and we say, I'm sorry, if you don't pay us $500, we can't go fight that fire.
Yeah, let me get you a quote for this. Hold on one second.
With the iPad, with the
Yeah, hold on, sir. Can you sign here real quick?
Yeah. And then turn the 15% tip around. I love that. Kiera.
Oh yeah, you love that, right? It's everywhere.
But see, and that's the mindset, right? Is that, and the way that I was raised was, my dad was a Special Forces Marine, a Force Recon Marine during the Vietnam era. And so I learned from my dad about serving people and serving a cause greater than yourself. And so those were the values that I was raised with. And so we just poured that into our business. And so, and don't get me, I hope people don't take me the wrong way. I think making money is important for the organization to keep the lights on, to pay your employees. And then you also have to have, you started the conversation off about prey drive. And so, when it's so funny, because Kiera and I were just having a conversation this morning. Money to me isn't to go buy things, right? I'm not a big thing person. I like to buy experiences, and we love to make memories. Kiera just had an amazing wedding. She just got married last week.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you.
And we went to Europe. She had a wedding in France. And to me, money is a vehicle to build experiences and create memories for those folks around us. And it's not, I drive a 2019 Volvo with 115,000 miles on it. She's like, why don't you get a new car? I was like, why? It's a great car. I don't need a new car.
I just want you to get a new car so I can buy it off you.
Oh, yeah. Her and her husband keep telling me, like, oh, you ding the door, that's an extra $5,000 off, because they want my Volvo. When we think about prey drive, what drives you every single day? I think the mission drives me first. And that really, kind of leads to the next book that we wrote called The Saved Effect. And I've been involved in some resuscitations over the years where individuals who went to cardiac arrest, where they stopped breathing, they didn't have a pulse. And then we showed up and we intervened in their worst day of their life. And we were able to resuscitate them and get a pulse back. And there's a couple of stories in our book where individuals lives more than 25 years post-resuscitation. And it was that knowledge, skill, and ability and the willingness to act that day that changed the outcome of their life. And so when I started to think about, you think about mission, like what drives you every day, those are the things that drive us. And same thing with Kiera. She has this, there's a great story in there, which also included my own father. And one of the big issues that we were trying to raise with our book is having bystander awareness. People who are not healthcare providers, who are not first responders, being aware that they can do something. They can learn CPR and have this willingness to act. And that makes an incredible difference in someone's life. And truly the name of the book, Kiera actually came up with the name. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. To start off, I had been in college and I was studying psychology, and then I had suffered a lot of grief and a lot of loss. And one of the stories that I was going through was one of the stories that's in the book, and it was with my grandfather, and he had been saved from an out of hospital cardiac arrest. But I had also experienced unexpected grief. And one of the things that helped me get through that was writing. And I began writing poetry and trying to just get my feelings out. And it was so cathartic and healing for me. And I began taking writing classes, and I had amazing professors who opened up the room to our families and our friends. And I had so many people come to my readings, especially my parents. And like another proud dad moment, he was always recording it and taking pictures. And but I always expected myself after college to go do something else, something that would be more clinical and in the realm of helping people, because that's been engraved in me since I was 2. I was taking these classes with everybody else, and I'd been performing these skills for so long. And so my dad had come to me, and he had said, "Listen, you're an amazing writer," and kind of rolled my eyes. And I was like, "Yep, that's just my dad being my dad," And he said, I want you to be a part of this project with me. And he had proposed the idea, and I said, I don't think so. Thanks. But I have other plans, and I've had these plans for so long, and I couldn't imagine not doing this. And he said, "No, I really want you to be a part of this. You have such a gift." And I said, "Okay, fine, I'll think about it," but the answer is probably no. And I had gone back to my dorm room, and I was just so fixated on the fact that I had been trying so hard to go out into the world and help others and use these skills that I had learned and grow on those and gain more education and experience. But I had sat with the fact that these stories could help people, and that the writing that had helped and healed me could also help and heal others. And so I had gone back to my dad after changing my mindset on the fact that that this writing had always been for me, and now it could be for everybody else, and I would indirectly be helping people through this. And I had said to him, "Okay, I'm in, but I don't know about that title."
So I had a title. I was just calling it Saved, and then she said, I have an idea.
Yeah, and I had told him, I said, "Have you ever heard of the butterfly effect?" And he had said no, and I explained it to him. And I said, "This is what these stories are about. This is people's lives are being saved." And we're harping in on the fact that they had so many more memories after the fact, that they had more birthdays, more anniversaries. They were able to meet their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. That's so catastrophic and amazing that this can't just be justified and described as the title as just saved, because that's not what just happened. That person wasn't just saved. So I had kind of portrayed the fact that I think it should be called the Saved Effect. And we had been tossing around different effects to an extent, the ripple effect and different theories, stuff like that. And I said, this is its own thing. This is going to be something that is new, and it's the Saved Effect.
And really what we're talking about is that it's not just one moment in time, it's everything that comes after.
Yeah.
So once that individual is saved, it's the ripples of time, where do the ripples go? And you, in the book, I write a story about this metaphor of throwing a pebble in the pond. My son had thrown a pebble in a pond. And if you think about the circles that move out, and once that pebble drops through the water, it's like a life going underwater. And the first ripple that comes out touches the family, right? It's the person who, if they're lost, if that rock goes under the water and never comes back out, that family is touched the most because that life ends that day. And so many times in my career, I've shown up to calls. I mean, literally thousands and thousands of calls I've been on, but over the years of all the cardiac arrests that I've been to where people were not breathing, didn't have a pulse, and because there was nothing being done before we got there, that patient didn't have a chance, and watch so many of those folks die. But I also have some amazing stories where bystander CPR was being done, and including my own dad, who was at a dance recital, had come out into the parking lot outside of a middle school and dropped in cardiac arrest. And there was a nurse and a PA who happened to be family members there who had their kids dancing that day, and they started CPR right away. And then fire and EMS showed up, and they used the defibrillator multiple times, gave him some medication. And by the time my dad got to the hospital, he was awake and talking. And he was 80 years old. And then what came after, the ripple effect of that, we'll let you read it. We're gonna
don't tell us everything.
No, we're not gonna, because it's an amazing story, and it definitely. And these are human stories, and it's not just that one moment in time. It's what happened after, and they're not. These are not heroes in the story. They're not heroes. And I've never looked at myself as a hero, by the way. Like, I don't think that there are heroes in the world. I think that people do heroic things in the moment.
Yep.
And the only hero I've ever had is my dad. And so when we think about how does this all tie to business? How does it all tie to what we do in the world? I think it has everything to do with it. It's how we see ourselves in the moment. Will you be the one that steps up and makes a difference? And the same thing in business. I think, will you be the one that steps up and makes a difference for you talk about having your customer. Everyone here in our school knows I'm a hugger, right? Like if we met, I'm going to give you a hug, right? Because I think that, people, human connection is what we live off of every single day. And to me, it's the empathy that we show to other people on a daily basis that drives everything in life. Some people will argue differently, but I'm just who I am, and I know Kiera's heart is the same way, and I can tell that you have that too. And as this book comes about, I'll give you one more point, because this is a book for everyone. It's not just for first responders. It's for folks who love a good story. It's folks who, believe me, there's a bunch of tears that'll come during that book. And I think at the end of the day, when we tie all of this together of our life's work, is like, what was the meaning of what you did over the years? What was the meaning of your business? What was the meaning of all the things that you do to help people on a daily basis?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's going to be exciting for that to come out. So you said August 19th? Is that
August 18th is the 18th. is the launch date. Right now, It's actually in pre-sale. If you went to our website, thesavedeffect.com, if anybody bought that right now, if we went out to, say, Barnes & Noble or Amazon, you come back to our website, and we would immediately fill out the form, and we'll send you the digital copy of the book immediately, so you don't have to wait. And we'll send you an audio book that Kiera and I produced ourselves. So it's Kiera and I reading the book, and there's a couple of other great gifts in there too as well. And
including a free CPR instructional video.
Yes.
That's 3 minutes long. So
no YouTube.
No YouTube.
No
If you can watch a TikTok for 3 minutes, then you can watch this for 3 minutes, and hopefully it'll prepare you just in case.
Brad, here's the thing. It has to be when she was 8 years old. That's that video and camera when you're taking those
I
pictures.
have that.
Get it out.
We were yesterday, our local ABC affiliate in Boston, Channel 5, came to our school and interviewed us about the book. And the Erica Tarantal is the reporter, and she's like, I would love some of those pictures. So yesterday afternoon, I'm sitting in my office and I'm dragging pictures into a folder for her, and of Kiera when she was 8 years old doing CPR on the mannequins.
Oh, what a story. That's great. As we wrap this up, guys, thank you so much for sharing that. And all viewers, jump on that book. It sounds like it's going to be a deep connection I think this world needs, honestly. They call it The Saved Effect. And what's your website, thesavedeffect.com?
Yes.
Awesome. And then they're going to be able to buy that on the 18th. Is that correct?
No, they'll be able to buy it right now, and then it'll
Okay.
be shipped on the 18th. It's in pre-sale right now.
If you have any medical professionals that are looking at starting a business, just give three key words of advice. It's not going to be easy, right? You got to be careful. I think that the reality of what we do or going into entrepreneurship or wanting to explore that, people say that you own a business a lot of times. Typically, it owns you in some fashion.
Yes.
You're always on the bottom. You're always last. I call myself, people are like, oh, so you own the company? I said, no, I'm the janitor. What do you mean? I'm always cleaning up messes, man. That's all I do. So what are three key things for advice that you could give some people?
I would say, one, it'll be the hardest and best thing you've ever done. The reward of serving others through a business has been an incredible challenge, but some of the best work that I've ever done. And I say that even with being in the fire department. I mean, I love that job. I love taking care of people, but I also love our business, and I love serving other people in ways that are different. And so even though you may have a skill in one area, you can take those skills and solve problems for other people. And if you do that, then they will reward you in many different ways. So I think that if you're trying to start that business, one, send it, right? Like in Seth Godin, in his work, he's always talking about sometimes it's just good enough. You just have to send it. So many times I've seen business owners get stuck in trying to make something perfect. We have a saying here, ready, aim, fire. No, it's not that. It's ready, fire, aim. Right? Well, we get ready, we launch, and then we figure it out. And sometimes it's messy. Business is messy. And as long as you come from a place in your heart that is the right pathway, and you also have to be able to pivot. And I think this is one of the traits that I learned, particularly on the fire ground. Because if we're attacking a fire, or we're taking care of somebody from a medical standpoint, and I always teach that we have a problem. Whatever that problem is, we're going to interact with that problem in a meaningful way. And there's a couple of different philosophies around both in leadership and decision making. And so if you start moving down the pathway where, like, if we're attacking a fire and it's not working, then I have to make a high-level decision very quickly and pivot. Yep. And too many times in business, I watch people just bang their head against the wall and not have the intestinal fortitude to pivot.
Yep.
And sometimes that pivot costs you money. And in business, right? Like I've wasted. I tell people all the time, like we have made decisions, and we've had to pivot that cost us significant amount, tens of thousands of dollars. But you have
all the time.
But you have to have the intestinal fortitude to say, that's not working. It doesn't matter how much resources we put towards it. It's still not working. For me, if I'm sending a bunch of firefighters to a problem and they're not gaining headway and the fire's beating us up and there's, we're losing, one, I have to get more resources, but I also have to make a decision to pull them back and regroup and now attack it a different way. So that was something that I learned, not only with patient care, but also on the fire ground. So, I always think very simply in business and in patient care, what's the problem? Why is it happening? And then what can we do about it? So really from an analysis standpoint is like, what's the problem? Why is this not working? And then I look at it from a medical standpoint. When I ask, why is it happening? Like, what's the pathophysiology behind disease process? But in business, we have to analyze that and say, what's the pathophysiology behind why it's not working? What's the decision-making that we did? What are the challenges that we're facing? And then how do we fix this and pivot? And also too, the best thing I ever have done as an entrepreneur is get some amazing coaching. Yeah. Because I didn't know what I didn't know.
And anyways, I think that when you make those decisions and they're wrong, I think it's not that you're wrong. Actually, it's a tax of doing business, and you've learned. It was an investment to learn, and so keep learning. Don't stop learning. Because when you hit the right one with 5,000 that made way more than the 30. Then what people do is they forget about those moments. Like, oh, look at me over here because I'm doing great on this. I think it all warrants it. It's just part of it. It's just a learning curve, and it requires risk. You got to be able to don't be scared of it. Don't paralysis by analysis. Like you said,
Yeah, ready, fire, aim.
ready, fire, aim. That's exactly right, because you're trying to solve this thing, and over here, you're not really sure if this is it. It might be a vendor issue. You might have selected the wrong vendor. I've done that so many times. I've just learned is hire fast and fire faster if they don't fit. Like the minute you try to make them something they're not, or a vendor that fits, I've had this where this front end of the stack was so good and they made me feel like, oh, this is a perfect fit. You get in there and I was like, oh no. I knew within 5 minutes I'm like, I'm going to give this 90 days because I don't think it's fair for me to take the moment that I'm seeing. And so I usually give myself 90 days and then I'm out. Like it's either you got it or you don't. So I think just don't be scared. I think that's what you're saying. Like just try. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. As we wind this episode down, I'm your host, Jeremy Axel on Never in Reverse, always moving forward. And thank you so much for being on our show, you guys, Brad and Kiera. And we are so excited for your new book. Everyone jump on it.
Thank you. For those folks that are out there, I'll definitely send them a digital copy of my First Responder Advantage book, the other book that I wrote. Yeah. So
absolutely.
I can definitely do that for you.
Absolutely. And where can they contact you guys? Just do you guys have a couple websites or emails or?
We do. Yeah. BradNewbury.com.
KieraNewbury.com.
Okay. And then are you guys on social media as well?
Yes. All the channels.
All the channels.
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome, guys.
Kiera Newbury, Brad Newbury, and The Saved Effect.
Go follow them, guys. Reach out to them if you guys want copies of the book. And we're so excited for August 18th. Until next time, guys, I'm your host, Jeremy Axel. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great day. Take care.